Yo, yo.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
Yes. This DJ will kick the floor in three, two, one.
Hello and
That sound gotta go.
hello and welcome to Mzansi Reality. We are back again. We are back again. It's that time of the night where we have to deliver what we have and what we have been cooking. Emily, it's that night.
Yes, it is time for the update. Dr. Nandipha uyasivrovaya.
Yeah, for those who do not know me, I go by the name Mr. Anonymous. And please subscribe and share the video as much as you can. I don't know about you, but just sharing is giving to us. And you can also join the membership if you want to. Just by subscribing, you are not joining the membership, you are subscribing, and that is also contribution. Thank you very much for going with us in this journey. Emily is right in front of you. So Emily, let us do what we do.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. And yes, we are still on the Thabo Bester Saga with Dr. Nandipha Magudumana. And Dr. Nandipha Magudumana uyafrovayisana. She is using her rights, Mtagabao.
Yeah.
Dr. Nandipha is utilizing every loophole, every corner, every angle, everything to make sure that she just doesn't go down without a fight.
Okay.
And it's turning out that even the Home Affairs Department, the NPA, as well as the SAPS are also fighting back. Okay, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is now challenging her arrest and deportation in court papers. Her legal team says she was abducted in Tanzania by the South African Police Service, but the Home Affairs Department says Magudumana is not being honest. Now, I'm going to first start with the claims that Dr. Nandipha made in her official papers that she filed at the Bloemfontein High Court, claiming to have been abducted. This is what she said in her affidavit. Okay, Magudumana argued that in Tanzania is a sovereign African country. And then I had to, now I'm being forced to go back to school, family. I have to go back to school. I had to now find out what is a sovereign state. Okay, and a sovereign state is a state that has the highest authority over a territory. International law defines sovereign state as having a permanent population-defined territory, a government not under another, and the capacity to interact with other sovereign states. It is also commonly understood that a sovereign state is an independent state.
Yeah.
So Tanzania is independent of South Africa.
So it must be defined territory, permanent population, effective government, and then independency, and then that is sovereignty.
So she claims that none of the respondents, and more in particular the second respondent, which is the police minister or its employees, have any jurisdiction or authority to arrest anyone there in Tanzania, or the authority to remove South Africans, save where properly authorized by the authorities in Tanzania.
Yeah.
So Magudumana's affidavit, she also laid out events that followed her arrest.
Yeah.
According to her account, she was blindfolded, taken to the airport in Tanzania by members of the SA Police Service, where on arrival she was met by two other SAPS members. She says they ordered me to get inside the aircraft, where I found about 4 members of the South African Defence Force inside the aircraft. I then sat in the aircraft, flanked by members of the second responders, and the members of the Defence Force read her papers. So she's saying that when she entered the plane, there were also members of the Defence Force. So she's not just implicating South African police, she's also implicating the SA Defence Force. So according to her affidavit, they flew to South Africa and landed at Lanseria Airport. From there, traveled to Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where she made her first court appearance. The state must come to court with clean hands, and such requirement is clearly not satisfied where the state is involved in the abduction of myself across the country's borders, she said. As she mentioned, the second respondent servant's Minister of Police had no jurisdiction or authority to arrest or bring her to South Africa and charge her as they did. That's what she argued. She also stated that she never appeared before any court in Tanzania. She said, and I quote, "I can with certainty say that I have not been found by any court in Tanzania to be an illegal immigrant. Nor have I been deported by such a court to South Africa." Read the papers. Magudumana also argued that police had no court order with them that warranted her transportation from Tanzania to South Africa, and no warrant for her arrest was issued.
Okay.
In any event, a warrant issued by a court in South Africa that has to be executed in South Africa would not assist any of the respondents. It is the arrest and removal in Tanzania which, according to her advice, flaws the whole process, she said. Among other things, Magudumana wants the court to nullify and set aside the criminal proceedings before the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. She also wants the court to declare that she's entitled to be released from prison. So the police have asked the court to strike Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's case off the roll as it lacks urgency and it is riddled with misinterpretation of facts.
Yeah.
Now, first, we're going to go through the police's response. The SAPS wrote their affidavit in response to her affidavit.
Okay.
So the details came out today. Magudumana filed an urgent application at the High Court in Bloemfontein seeking an order to have her arrest and detention declared wrongful and unlawful. In her founding affidavit, Magudumana said that she was abducted by South African police in Tanzania and was blindfolded. She also said that South African police had no jurisdiction in Tanzania as it is a sovereign state. However, in response, police say Magudumana was not arrested in Tanzania by South African police. In an answering affidavit filed by SAPS's Brigadier Richard Shibiri, head of crime investigations in Gauteng, he says Magudumana's version of events is not true, and the facts she relies on are not correct in all aspects.
Okay.
Shibiri filed papers on behalf of Police Minister Begitele and Captain Tieho Flemen, who have been cited as respondents. The applicant, I quote, "The applicant in her founding affidavit conspicuously avoided informing this court of inter alia the basic facts or circumstances which are invariably relevant to this matter."
Okay.
When and how she ended up in Tanzania before her arrest on April the 6th by Tanzanian police, with whom she left South Africa for Tanzania, if she entered and remained in Tanzania lawfully, the reason for her presence in Tanzania, and where exactly in Tanzania she was allegedly arrested by members of the SAPS. Shibiri argued that Magudumana chose not to disclose these details to the court because they are harmful to her case, which he says is based on misinterpretation of fact.
Yes.
He also denied that Magudumana was arrested in Tanzania by South African police and also said no police member involved in the investigation concerning Bester's escape from prison.
Right.
Were in Tanzania on April the 6th. So according to Shibiri, Magudumana's deportation occurred after she was declared a prohibited immigrant under the provisions of Tanzania's Immigration Act.
Okay.
Neither she nor Bester, who was willing to travel with the fake American passport, had legally crossed into Tanzania. The state alleged. Okay? So Tanzania's Immigration Act states that, subject to provisions of this act, any immigration officer or any police officer may prevent any prohibited immigrant from entering Tanzania and may, without a warrant, arrest any prohibited immigrant or any person who has reasonable cause to suspect of having entered Tanzania while being a prohibited immigrant. Otherwise, that in accordance with the provisions of this act. So in Tanzania, she was considered a prohibited immigrant.
Yes.
And you don't need a warrant of arrest
To arrest such a person.
to arrest a prohibited
Anyone
immigrant.
can intercept you.
So that right there was what took me like, okay, maybe there's hope.
No, there's definitely, and I did say that they are going to come with a counter offense,
I was like,
those people of Tanzania, because the fact that they delivered them to South African police, therefore that means they must have closed all the loopholes that could exist or jeopardize this case. So they did. And now the question, does that law of Tanzania then not require for them to pass by the court?
No.
No.
If they are considered a prohibited illegal immigrant,
So there is no
they
cause for
don't
them
have
to determine
appear.
if they should stay or not, because they are prohibited. Because of that, therefore, they needed to be out of this country for like in about like 3 days or so.
Yes.
And they
there's
were assisted.
somewhere where Dr. Nandipha was saying that she had also consulted with a lawyer in Tanzania after she got arrested there. And they stopped that from happening. But I'm going to get into more details on it later on. So, yes, it seems like this is a law, an actual law in Tanzania of their immigration laws.
Yes, it's working.
So they've quoted and cited it in the affidavit. Shibiri maintained that Magudumana's status as a prohibited immigrant meant that it was not legally required for her to be brought before a magistrate in Tanzania.
Yes.
Instead, he says Tanzanian immigration law enabled authorities to keep her in custody until she was transported out of the country through a ship, plane, or other vessel. So his version is that Magudumana's deportation was at the order and behest of the Tanzanian government, as she was declared a prohibited immigrant. Shibiri also said the Tanzanian government had made it clear that it does not cover costs of deportation of illegal immigrants if their countries of origin are able to arrange for that deportation. So in this affidavit, he further said, after the handover to the DHA, the applicant and Bester were transported back to South Africa in the plane contracted by the Department of Home Affairs. This plane left Tanzania at 23 minutes past 12 midnight. Throughout this process, the SAPS only provided protection and security services. Now, here's the catch. The SAPS only provided protection and security services to Department of Home Affairs officials aboard that plane. So they are saying that the members of the police were there for the officials of Home Affairs, not for them. As indicated above, there was an escaped prisoner involved. So they were transporting a prisoner who was convicted of forcing himself on women as well as murder.
Okay.
So they needed to keep the Department of Home Affairs officials safe. So that's why they're saying they had the police there. Okay? So Shibiri also said in court papers that when Magudumana was handed over to the Department of Home Affairs officials in Tanzania in the presence of SA High Commissioner to Tanzania, she didn't verbally or otherwise offer any resistance or protest. She
So-
did not resist
Yes.
in any way.
Yes. So I'm trying to read here what is a prohibited immigrant in Tanzania.
Okay.
The Immigrant Act defines a certain category of individuals who are prohibited for entering or staying in Tanzania. These may include individuals with criminal records, individuals who pose a security threat, individuals who engage in illegal activities, or those who have been previously deported from Tanzania. So this is where Magudumane was falling.
He was falling on the
Criminal side.
They alerted the Tanzanian authorities that there are people on the run. They need to be arrested.
So based on that, then they had to be deported. So they've covered that part. Let us see the other part, maybe what Magudumane is going to play from here, because it's very interesting where to from here, because what we are gathering is that everything is in order.
Now, Shibiri's affidavit continued to say that the applicant informed all and sundry that she wanted to return to South Africa to her children. That is what she told them. Remember when Minister Begitele was like, Dr. Nandipha was more cooperative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that, guys?
I remember.
She even told them that I want to go back to my kids. Okay. Allegedly. The police officer also stated that in the plane that brought Magudumane and Bester back in South Africa, no member of the SA Defence Force was on board, as stated by Magudumane in her papers. You know, I remember that footage of her landing and getting out of Lanseria Airport. She was walking with two South African officials, the South African police service. In fact, we were even complaining that why is she not handcuffed or something? Yeah, do you remember that?
I remember.
She even looked like she had a cell phone in her pocket. She looked all free. She didn't look like a prisoner. In fact, some of us were upset that why is she not looking like she's in trouble? You know?
I remember.
So now I'm thinking back to that and I'm like, did you see any defense force? I mean, the journalists made sure that they don't sleep that night. I would like to know if they saw any defense force members.
That would be very interesting if indeed that was the case.
Because they are denying that. The South African Police Service are denying that there were any members of the defense force on that plane. Magudumane, in her papers, he further maintains that account of the events that played out after she and Bester were apprehended by Tanzanian police is not true. So they're saying it's not true that there were any defense force members, the soldiers. So the summary of facts established that Magudumane is not afraid to make false statements, he said.
Oh.
Before stating that the doctor's claims that were SA National Defence Force officials on the flight that returned to South Africa are baseless.
Yes.
Nobody flanked Magudumane in the sense that she conveys. There were only a limited number of seats on the airplane, he states. So according to Shibiri, the police who were on that plane were accompanying the Home Affairs Department officials tasked with overseeing the deportation of Magudumane and Bester because of the status of Thabo Bester. You know, he's a convicted
fella. Yes.
So these SAPS members did not travel to Tanzania to arrest Magudumane, he said.
Okay.
So on urgency, Shibiri asked the court to strike her case off the roll with costs for lack of agency, as he says there is self-created agency. You know what this means? This means that if the court actually strikes it off the roll, Magudumane will have to pay for the legal representation of Home Affairs, SAPS, and...
Yeah, that's a very nice way of depleting the funds. That's a very nice way of... That's how court is, man. The more you go, the more you climb, the lesser it becomes for you to actually ride on a free law. That's when you start paying.
They're going to punish for this. And if the court strikes this off the roll, uzobhadala like Dr. Nandipha.
Which is smelling like that already.
So according to the applicant, her application is urgent because her personal liberty is an issue. The applicant was arrested over a month ago. She failed to bring this application promptly after her arrest.
Okay.
Though she has always been legally represented in criminal court from the first time she appeared. Read the paper. So they're having a problem with the fact that she's been arrested since when? April. And it took her this long to say my arrest was unlawful.
Okay.
And she's had legal representation which she can afford, that she can pay for in court representing her before she abandoned her bail application. So they're arguing based on that it seems like she just wants to waste time.
Which we all feel like that.
So
Can
the
we get
department,
into the cracks of this case?
the Department of Home Affairs also responded. They also did their own affidavit, and they're saying Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is approaching the court with dirty hands as she failed to take into her confidence. The assertions that she is approaching the court with dirty hands are contained in the department's answering affidavit filed by Chief Director of Inspector for Immigration Services Mudiri Matthews on behalf of Minister Aaron Motsoaledi.
Okay.
In the department's papers, Matthews argues that Magudumana failed to take the court into her confidence by disclosing that she left the country illegally and also entered Tanzania illegally, including what the circumstances were that led her to travel to Tanzania, including the mode of transport. And now I quote from the papers. Matthew says, I have checked in the movement control system, MCS, of the Department of Home Affairs, and found that she did not use any port of entry and exit to travel to the United Republic of Tanzania. Read the court papers.
Okay.
Matthews also denied that Magudumana was arrested by members of the SA Police Service in Tanzania. His version is that she was arrested by the Tanzanian police, and her arrest by a member of the SAPS was effected on arrival at Lanseria Airport in Johannesburg.
All right.
He says, and I quote, I deny that the applicant was abducted. This is a calculated lie meant to mislead the court. I deny that the applicant was blindfolded. There's absolutely no truth in this allegation.
All right.
And quote, read the papers. Speaking on this blindfoldedness, like, if she claims she was blindfolded, then how did she see who was traveling with her?
Then the voice,
Just
the voice, the
curiosity.
Zulu speaking, because I'm over a snippet. The Zulu speaking police.
What if it's a Zulu-speaking person who's there in Tanzania? There are South Africans in Tanzania.
Yeah, they are.
So for her to make this conclusion, and then she says, I was handcuffed and blindfolded. I'm like, wow. Oh my God. How did you see that there were South African police in uniform in that state? You know? I'm just curious about it.
But it wouldn't have been a problem if there was a presence of police because of Baxter, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's
They were
my
there
thinking.
to protect the Department of Home Affairs staff
From this man.
from a
who's-
convicted criminal.
Yes. That's an argument. In case there is someone who spoke Zulu.
So in the papers, they're saying there's absolutely no truth in this allegation. He also maintained that Magudumana was deported after due process by the Tanzanian immigration officers. He said in the papers, and I quote, no member of SAPS in full uniform arrested the applicant in the manner alleged by the applicant.
Yes.
I, in any event, would not have allowed such conduct from any person.
Yes.
The Tanzanian immigration officers had made it clear that the applicant and Bester would be handed over to the members of the SAPS and or transportation belonging to the SAPS. In her founding papers, Magudumana had argued that police also had no warrant for her arrest. But Matthew says there was no need for a warrant as Magudumana was not arrested by police in Tanzania. Matthews also asked the court to strike Magudumana's case off the roll for lack of urgency with costs, including the cost of 2 councils.
We need this money. If they have more to spend, we would gladly take it as people of South Africa. They must. Indeed.
Costs.
They must. We are told that the banks
Home Affairs,
allegedly.
SAPS.
Yes.
But bhatale bonke for wasting their time, allegedly.
Yeah, it's money for free.
So in her replying affidavit, she replied, Bazalwane, family. She replied. She did not waste any time. Okay. Dr. Nandipha Magudumana hit back at the SAPS, DPP, and Home Affairs.
Okay.
Now, this is what she said in the affidavit. She says they colluded to secure her forceful return in a calculated extradition. It was not the extradition, it was a deportation. Yeah, that's what she said. SAPS and NPA versions of where she was arrested contradict Home Affairs. We just read details. Did they contradict?
No, well, except obviously for our beloved minister who speaks out of 10 now and then.
Oh, and then Dr. Nandipha also states that there were South Africans involved in her apprehension and arrest. One of them spoke isiZulu. Dr. Nandipha also said there were contradictions pertaining to her arrest in what police said in their answering affidavit and what the police minister told a media briefing in April. Nakumbule kuluma minister. She's using that as well.
What did the minister say now?
Dr. Nandipha says Minister Cele's remarks at that press conference confirm
That they
that
were
her
working
arrest
together.
was directed from South Africa. Now, this is where I'd like for us to play that clip. Well, I combined 2 clips, one from the press conference and another one from the parliaments, right? This is just hear what was said there because...
Yes, Izundos.
The way it happened, that our forces, as it has been explained, that it was a combination of Interpol, crime intelligence, and everybody directed here. But the people who were spotted is not very much correct that we were arrested because of entered the country illegal. It was found when they've been arrested that they're in the country illegal. They were found, they were spotted by the people that are working with South Africa, and they were followed as they left the hotel in this black SUV, and they were heading for the border of the other country. They were leaving.
Why did you need to charter a private jet?
Chairperson, simply put, it was part of negotiations with the officials on the other side that it would be their pleasure if it's done the way that it was done. So we had to respect those negotiations with
So the Tanzanians wanted to fly to South Africa in a private jet. Is that what you're saying? It's a yes or no answer.
No, I'm not going to answer that way. No, not at all.
Then don't answer.
You can tell others to answer yes or no.
No, don't
I'm
answer.
absolutely not in court here.
It's fine.
Yeah, Bog. That's what our beloved minister.
You know what I heard? Well, I heard him speaking in circles. I thought I had heard him say the South African police
Were there.
But now that I listened to the clip again, I'm hearing circles.
It's intelligence, it's not police. It's
I'm hearing
intelligence.
Interpol.
And
I'm hearing collaborative effort. I'm hearing, well, we were waiting for them to get arrested. We were waiting for them actually at the border.
Yes.
And then apprehended.
Upon their arrival, then they will be arrested.
And then I also heard that actually Tanzania was able to tell that they were there illegally after they were arrested.
It was the intelligence corroboration that detected these unwanted or prohibited people. Why did he speak?
But what I'm hearing now after listening to that clip is that really there's nothing tangible.
There is definitely nothing tangible.
Like he already was warned. You can tell that maybe he knew.
He sort of corrected himself now and then when he got a chance, I think.
Because there's no watertight of saying South African police, yes, arrested her. No, that's when I listen to it again, guys. I don't know whether I'm wrong. I'm hearing Interpol.
It's a lot of
I'm hearing collaborating.
Wishy-washy answers.
Yeah, but
it just didn't make sense.
This is where I guess he should be grateful that
he shouldn't speak. He was not supposed to speak in this thing.
No, he was not supposed to say.
He was only supposed to speak about the takeover from the airport.
Because even in Parliament, Advocate Breitenbach was even asking him about the Tanzanian authorities wanting to fly to South Africa in a private jet, right? And he clearly didn't want to answer that question. So in the Parliament as well, there's nothing concrete. There's nothing that says South African police
were
arrested.
Involved. He wanted
Tanzania.
to take credit for all that is worth. He wanted to take credit.
He did.
But luckily, it didn't happen. He was not allowed in Parliament to take that credit.
Well, Dr. Nandipha, in her response, says that she's perplexed by the South African government's response. Dr. Nandipha said that she had instructed a lawyer in Tanzania to bring an application to declare her detention unlawful, but was removed and returned to South Africa before the application was served before the Tanzanian courts. Dagabao, she even had time in Tanzania to look for a lawyer. She found a lawyer, but before she could finalize the application, 3 days they were given. Had to return. So the matter has been set down for hearing on Thursday. That will be today, you guys.
Yeah.
Go check it out at the High Court in Bloemfontein.
Yeah.
And that's literally the glitch of what happened today. But I'm happy. I'm happy that Home Affairs and SAPS.
They are in collaboration.
Yes.
And we are happy that there was not much talking.
That too.
In fact, we are happy that there was no much allowance for credit taking.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, God knows what could have happened.
Hey, Minister Begitele, almost there. Hey, Cishe was fucking king.
Don't tell me anything.
Cishe! Bekusele kancane ukuthi shine, South African police shine.
Luckily.
But yeah, he was warned. I think he was told in advance not to do it because the way he was speaking in circles.
Yeah, it seems as if he wanted to go to the direction of, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It happened, it's us as SAPS. We dealt with this thing.
We took the glory.
Unfortunately, we are grateful for the parliament that didn't want to give credit to the ruling party.
Yes, definitely.
And for that, then there was a chaos. That chaos sort of led into not so smooth speech that was going to happen, which God knows if it was smooth, what could have happened. But just that update, Emily, we are just keeping you in touch with this case.
Yes.
Why we have to come back and give you more videos is because it is a complicated issue. We're dealing with 8 accused right now. And all of them, they come with different characters. We're dealing with the bail of the so-called co-accused.
Yes.
And then Nandipha is dealing. There might be even, allegedly, the issue of Thabo Bester also applying for bail.
Hey. Yes, I was shocked when I found... How does Thabo Bester apply for bail? Can somebody please help me understand that? They're saying he wants to apply for bail.
Not unless he's saying, I'm not Thabo Bester.
Not unless if he's saying, that's not who I am.
Yeah, if he's not Thabo Bester, then Bester.
Best.
Hey, if he's not Bester, then I understand. Maybe that's an angle. That's what I thought of it. Remember I said it, that I don't think this man is going to say I'm Baxter. He could say something else also. So him applying for bail is basically saying this is not Baxter. This is not Baxter that you arrested. Because Baxter would not want bail because Baxter
is convicted.
is convicted.
He's inside the prison system.
All right. I don't know, man. Let us hear what your thought is about this. We don't want to prolong this the way it is already. As usual, we give you, and we're laying. Then tomorrow there is going to be that court hearing of
Dr.
Nandipha
case.
that you also need to look at if you get a chance. We are in a circus. That's it. Please subscribe.
But I'm happy. The Home Affairs and SAPS are fighting. That's all that matters.
Please just help us by subscribing so that we keep on updating you and like the video. We are grateful. The previous video, you guys did your job.
You showed up.
We are also showing up when you show up. Thank you very much. Is there anything?
No, there's nothing. Love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Until the next one, bye.
Lights out. It's a bye from us.